Welcome back to Earth 1 in the DC Universe. This is an alternate take on your favorite superheroes, a more realistic take on everything that they do. So this one is going to be part 2 of Volume 2 of Batman, in which he discovered the Riddler and this interesting individual in Gotham City. Can he take him down? Well, this is the video where we're going to find out. When we last left off, Batman jumped onto a roof where he found a man running and he threw a batarang at him, slightly missing, hitting the door frame. The man made his way down some stairs and Batman jumped after him onto the stairway. When he saw a radio, he was suddenly hit in the back of the head with a shovel, knocking him out of a window and onto a lower balcony where he passed out from the fall. A short while later, Bruce opened up his eyes to find himself in a bed and his mask still on and his wounds have been tended to. He looks around panicking, asking, "What happened?" And the woman steps into the room telling him that he fell onto her balcony and she can't believe, but it's really the Batman. Bruce asks who she is and the woman tells him to keep it down. She has a 6-year-old son sleeping in the next room. He begins to lean up and the woman says that she figured that he wouldn't have wanted her to call 911. So she did what she could. Batman gets up getting dressed and he takes the batarang that the woman was looking at, telling her that he's sorry for crashing in, but here's some money for the smashed pots. He'll send flowers later. Back over at Jessica's office, Harvey says that he knew that he couldn't trust Bruce. He's got Arkham blood in his veins. He was creepy when they were kids and he's creepy now. As Jessica starts to defend Bruce, there's a knock at the door and Jessica's secretary comes in with a box with a question mark on it, stating that it has just been dropped off. Later that night, as the rain begins to pick up, there's a ring at the door of Wayne Manor. The bell is rung several times and Alfred walks over telling whoever it is to hold on. He's coming. As he opens up the door, Jessica is standing there asking if Bruce is home. She needs to talk to him, it's very important. Meanwhile, down in the sewers, he's searching for the tunnels as this was the last location where he saw the man that was running before. A creature then grabs onto him and throws him against a wall and begins to move in for strikes. Using his cape, Batman shifts behind the creature and starts to smother the creature until it manages to bite through the cape. With a quick punch back, the creature punches into Batman and Batman continues to try and fight it. The creature's thick scales protect it from any of his normal punches. And as he's knocked down once more, he pulls out a taser, firing the thongs into the creature's cheek and electrocuting him. As Batman then rushes in to kick him, the creature grabs him by the neck, shouting, "Stop and leave me alone!" The creature lets go and says, "Please, whoever you are, just leave me alone." Batman looks at the creature and tells him that he was trying to eat him, and the creature says that he doesn't eat people. He's a person. Gotham Knights come down here to either shoot or stab me. Just go away. Batman grabs the glow stick to get a better look, and he says that he's not down here looking for him. There was another person, but what is your name? The creature tells him that he is Waylon Jones, and he has a skin condition that, well, makes him look like this, like a croc. His mother gave him to a doctor to be looked after, and Dr. Haley filed his teeth to make him look more like a reptile boy and sell him off. So please, stop staring. This is the only place that I can hide from people who want to put me in a circus. Batman then asks if he's been living here as he's seen a man that's come by. Waylon says that there was a man that he has seen in a green coat, and he can show him where he's been, but there's one question he has to ask. He looks at Batman's suit and he asks, "What the hell are you wearing?" As Waylon guides Batman through the tunnels, Batman explains what he's been doing and he offers Waylon the help of the doctors on the surface. Waylon tells him no, he would much rather just stay down here. There's no point in going back up. Happy hunting, Batman. As Batman walks up to the door that Waylon led him to, he opens up his belt, pulling out a set of tools to pick the lock. He begins to try and open it, and after a few moments of not succeeding, he tosses the picks and says, "Screw this." With one mighty kick, he throws the door open, and he sees a wall of newspaper clippings, all featuring him. Across the desk are several monitors, all with question marks on the wallpapers. Batman reaches down to access the computer and a voice asks, "Is that you, Batman?" Batman looks up from the monitor requesting a password and he asks, "Who are you?" The voice says, "That's a difficult question, isn't it? Who I am is a matter of perspective. To one, I could be a friend. To the other, an enemy. However, who I am is an unanswerable question, so we should just move along." Batman tells him, "Don't tell me who you are. Just tell me why you're doing this." The voice says, "That is a good question. There could be many answers as to why I'm doing this. Could be good, could be bad. But it all leads to one specific question. Was it a wasted life or meaningful? Is there anything after death? That is the ultimate riddle. Perhaps you should call me the Riddler." Batman glances around and he asks, "You're still here, aren't you?" However, just as it's asked, the explosion goes off, throwing Batman against a wall. He gets up looking at the radio on the ground and the Riddler tells him, "That should have been the first question you asked." As Batman reaches down to grab the radio, the Riddler tells him, how about you play this time? Currently, there's an explosive rigged to a first-class car of the Gotham L train with enough power to kill everyone on board. If my question isn't answered correctly, the explosion will go off. Now take the radio and follow my directions. Run, Batman, run! Batman runs out of the room and down into the sewers into the subway tunnels. But just before falling onto the tracks, he stops. Down the tunnel, the subway makes its way and the Riddler tells him, wait for it, jump! Batman leaps onto the passing train, tumbling onto the roof, barely grabbing onto the side, and the Riddler begins with this question. I am a part of the bat that's not in the sky. I can swim in a lake in the moonlight, and yet I am dry. What am I? The train shifts, throwing Batman off his balance, and he retains his posture. And he says, I know what that is. A shadow. In another location close by, the Riddler frowns, and Batman asks, did you hear me? Then the explosions are set off, and Batman is thrown from the roof down onto the nearby tracks. Before he has a chance to get up, the rest of the train explodes, and all Batman can do is watch. Later, as medical and police arrive, Jim starts to make his way down when Batman calls out to him. Jim looks down an alley and he steps out telling him, this isn't a game to him. It never was. He called himself the Riddler, and even with the correct answer, he blew it up. There were families on that train, kids. He murdered kids. Jim follows Batman back into the shadows and he pulls out a small stack of papers, stating that the safe house has been rigged to explode. Everything was burning except for these. Jim looks through them and Batman says, they had 4 words on them. Crane, Drake, Pierce, Black. I would assume that those are names. What if these mass killings aren't what they look like? 5 people took control of Cobblepot's empire. Jim asks, what is he trying to say? And Batman says, the Riddler didn't care that I answered the question. These acts don't seem random. Perhaps the Riddler is all an act to cover up the real murders. He's killing many to hide one. So cross-reference the list of victims with the names on that map. I bet these names are going to match. Batman turns to leave and he tosses Jim a small device telling him, when you find out, call me on that. Jim looks at it asking, what is it? A cell phone with 1 button? Batman tells him, it's a bat signal. Once he grapples out of there, Jim looks closer at the device and he says, Christ, he actually put a bat on it. Back in Wayne Manor, Jessica begins pulling out the contents of a box, stating that she can't trust anyone right now. That's why she wanted to show Bruce this. As Alfred takes the note, he reads, I'll stop asking questions if you arrest him. And Alfred asks, who? Jessica pulls out a box and pulls out a small Batman doll. And Alfred asks, why are you coming here with this? Just then, Jessica's phone rings from her brother and she picks it up and tells him to slow down. After a few moments, she says, oh God, there was another explosion. Tell Bruce I'll be back. As she runs out, Bruce weakly calls out to Alfred, pushing the false bookcase. After Alfred is done patching him up, he gets up and feels his phone vibrate. When he answers it, Jim tells him, I've matched the names. There's something else though. I have a way to find the Riddler. Later, back in Jessica's office, the Batman doll is thrown onto the table, and Bruce then asks, how long have you known? She sighs, stating since the moment that he said that he thought the bat was a symbol of hope for the city. Only he would think that. He begins to state that he made a vow to his parents' grave to take down the killer. And Jessica says that she thought he needed a focus on his life. But she never would have thought that, does the person behind these attacks know who you are? Is that why they're trying to force me to arrest the Batman? Bruce tells her no. The Riddler is all about distractions. I've been working with Detective James Gordon. He's a man you can trust. The two then begin to search through the records of the people who died in the accidents, and they notice one thing between the 3 of them. Each had an offshore account that had been drained the day before their death, all to a company named Answers Inc., and its owner, Bruce Wayne. At that same moment, there's a knock on the door at Wayne Manor, and Jim holds up papers, telling Alfred that he has a warrant to search the premises. Jim lets him in, and Alfred asks, so you're Gordon. And he hits him with a cane. After a bit of fighting, Alfred is tased, but back at the office, Bruce feels his hair grabbed from behind. He's spun around and sucker punched, and Harvey tells him, you stay the hell away from my sister. Later at the Gotham PD, Alfred sits in a cell and Bruce asks what happened to him. Alfred looks over at his black eye and he asks, what the hell happened to you? Bruce tells him that he was at Jessica's office going over the case and well, he was still out because he didn't hit Harvey back. Alfred says Gordon came by the manor, must have figured it all out. I knew he couldn't have been trusted, Bruce. Bruce stops him, telling him it's not because of Batman, it's because the Riddler left a trail from the accounts of the victims that led back to Bruce Wayne. Alfred then says the case with the new suit from Lucius came, but the police have it here. Just then Harvey begins charging towards Bruce Wayne, yelling, I still got some questions for you. But before he could take another step, the lights go out, and suddenly a voice calls over the radio, and the Riddler says, that's all thanks to you. Allow me to welcome all of the important people here, and ask a riddle. If you answer it correctly, the power comes back on and I go back to my game of solitaire. But if you get it wrong, the entire building will turn to rubble, with you in it. But before I ask my question, there's something else I'd like to do. As a clank that rings out and Alfred looks at the cell doors swing open. All of the locked up criminals push open their cell doors, and Maroney shouts, "He wants Harvey Dent!" As a fight breaks out between the cops and the criminals, Alfred joins in to help, and one of the criminals grabs a knocked out officer's gun. He points it at Alfred, and then there's a sudden loud thud, and Bruce pushes through wielding a fire extinguisher. While the fighting goes on, the Riddler asks, "There's a criminal in a cell wanting to leave. There are no windows or cracks in the walls. He has no tools, and the door to his cell is 5 inches thick. How did he escape?" Harvey pulls Jessica to get out of there, and she pulls back, telling him that she can't. Bruce and Alfred are inside. Harvey then pulls harder towards the door, telling her that they will help once she's safe. And that's when he feels a slight prick and sees blood coming out of his stomach. A criminal laughs as he holds up a bloody knife. "I'm cutting a deal, Dent!" Literally. Bruce punches a man, shouting, "The door wasn't locked!" "But that doesn't matter. You're going to blow up this place anyway." One of the men then shouts, "Maroney has Dent." As everyone turns, they see Maroney holding Harvey up with one hand, holding a Molotov in the other. And as Harvey looks over at Jessica, Maroney slams the bottle against Harvey's face, burning the right side of his head. Before Jessica can reach out, Bruce runs over, covering Harvey, smothering the fire. Jessica yells to Harvey, and as she holds his head up, he whispers, "Don't let me die." Jessica holds Harvey's face closer, pressing her face against the burned flesh. Bruce then grabs Jessica, telling her that they need to go, and she turns back, shouting that her brother is dead before passing out. Bruce takes Jessica, jumping out the window while the Riddler continues his countdown, and that's when Bruce sees 2 laundry trucks in the parking lot. As an officer comes over to Jessica, Bruce runs over to the truck, swinging open the back door, and the Riddler says, "Oh, you got me." Almost. Bruce looks and sees the van is packed with explosives, and then the Riddler backs up into the second van. He begins to laugh. "Ha ha ha! This has been fun, but soon every person who knows about me will be dead." The Riddler speeds off, with Bruce jumping into the van and hot-wiring it, but just before the Riddler could push the button, Bruce radios to him. He says that he has a riddle. There are 2 cars that can leave the GCPD 5 seconds apart, traveling 60 miles an hour. The one in front is a trigger to the bomb in the second. The cars are within a half a block of each other. What happens to both cars when the trigger is flipped? Riddler looks in the rear view to see Bruce behind him. He steps on the gas, saying, "Getting ahead by 1 city block is the answer." The 2 race through the city streets, but eventually, Bruce slams into the side of the Riddler's van. The Riddler's van flips into the subway below, and Bruce jumps down, with the Riddler jumping from the van, firing his guns. He shouts, asking, "Who are you?" And Bruce punches him, telling him, "You'll never know. It's over." He grabs the switch, telling him, "No, let us answer the ultimate riddle together. Is there anything after death?" Before he presses down, though, Waylon appears, slashing at the Riddler's back. The Riddler falls to his knees, and he spins back, shooting Waylon, shouting, "We'll all die now." Batman throws a batarang into Riddler's wrist, freeing the switch, and then he runs in, punching him. And later, as the police arrive, Bruce goes to the hospital to see Jessica. As he sits there, he hears her begin to say something. Excited, he gets up from his chair, and she says, "Wayne, stay the hell away from my sister." Bruce pauses, and then Jessica looks over, asking Bruce, where is her brother? She reaches out, and Bruce grabs her hand, telling her that he's sorry. But before she could hear him, she passes back out. Over at the station, Jim steps out of the commissioner's office, and Harvey Bullock asks, "What's the word? Did he get a gold star?" Jim takes off his glasses, stating that he's been promoted to captain. And back at the hospital, Bruce leaves to allow Jessica to rest, and then gets a call from Alfred. Alfred asks, what is he supposed to do with this? What does this thing eat? Waylon, bandaged up from the gunshot wound, says that he eats food, old man. Bruce walks out, stating that the city has a new chance, and so do they. And Alfred then says that he also did the thing that he asked. He sent flowers to that apartment, and it turns out that the owner was out of town when he crashed in, and he's a man. So don't let yourself thinking that Gotham's cured of anything just yet. He may have worked out who he was, but in Gotham, you never know who anyone else really is. Off in another apartment, the woman who treated Bruce plays with a cat on her bed while holding a batarang. There you have it. The Riddler has been disposed of, and Batman is sent off to fight against Catwoman? I don't know, because Volume 3 hasn't come out as far as I know. I'm going to look into it. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. If it has, we're going to cover it. If it hasn't, well, I really wish Jeff Johns would get on that. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because next week we're going to be concluding Green Lantern Earth 1 with part 2 of that one. And then we're going to be bringing you Superman Earth 1 Volume 2 to celebrate Superman Action Comics 1000. Don't forget to check out our Discord with one of the most amazing communities on Discord, talking about comic books, video games, and all of your favorite stuff in the link down below. And I'll see you next time right here at Comicstorian.